cottage was empty and the roof fallen in. As I went by, a great bird with ragged wings rose out of it and flapped away, low over the water. I could see far ahead to where the fen met the sky and the tower of Iyot Church, and then the house itself shimmered into view, hazy at first in the veils of rain, then larger, clearer, darker. The only trees for miles were the trees around the churchyard and those close to Iyot House, shading it from sight of the road, though few people, now as ever, were likely to pass by. I parked beside the church wall and got out. The rain was a fine drizzle lying like cobwebs on my hair and the shoulders of my coat. Mine was the only car, so unless she had parked at the house, I was the first to arrive. That did not surprise me. I pushed open the heavy, greened wood of the gate and walked up the path to the church door. Crumpled chicken wire had been used to cover the arch and keep out birds, but it had loosened, and old twigs and bits of blackened straw poked through where they had still managed to nest. I lifted the iron handle, twisted it, and the door creaked open. The cold inside the porch made me catch my breath. Beyond the inner door, inside the church itself, it was more intense still, and smelled of damp stone and mould. It seemed to be the cold of centuries, and to seep into my bones as I stood there. I did not remember anything about the church, though I was sure I must have been there on Sundays with my aunt. I had a folk memory of the hard, polished pews against my bony little backside and legs, for I had been a thin child. It was dull and pale, with uninteresting memorial tablets and clear glass windows that let the silvery daylight in onto the grey floor. Even the lion and unicorn, the only touch of colour in the church, painted in red and faded gold and blue on a wooden panel, and which might have taken the attention of a small boy, was quite unfamiliar. Perhaps my memories had been of another church altogether. I wandered about, half expecting to hear the door open and see her standing there, but no one came, and my footsteps were solitary on the stone floor. The lights did not come on when I clicked the switch, and the church was dim in the sullen November afternoon. I made my way out again, but as I stood looking out at the path and the graveyard, I had a strange and quite urgent sense that I ought to do something, that I was needed, that I was the one person who could rescue... Rescue what? Who? I could not remember when I had had such an anxious feeling, and as I walked out it became stronger, almost as if someone were tugging at my sleeve and begging me to help them. But there was no one. The churchyard was empty, and it felt desolate in the gathering dusk, with the brooding sky overhead, though it was only just after 3 o'clock. I shook myself to be rid of the inexplicable feeling, and walked briskly to the car and drove the short distance to the house, the back and chimneys of which were hard to the road. There were the wooden gates, which I remembered well. If I opened them, I could swing into the yard and park behind the scullery and outhouses, but the gate was locked and seemingly barred on the inside, so I returned to the lay-by beside the church and set out to walk back along the deserted lane to Iyot House. I glanced down the road, but there was no sign of a car, even far away, no moving dot in the distance. And then it was as if something were tugging at my sleeve, though I felt nothing. I was being urged to return to the churchyard, and I could not disobey. Whatever was asking me to go there needed something. Needed me? What did it want me to do? And why? Where exactly was I to go? I turned again, feeling considerably annoyed but unable to resist, and the moment I set off I sensed that this was right, and that who or whatever wanted me there was relieved and pleased with me. We all like to please by doing the thing we are being asked, in spite of our misgivings, and so I retraced my steps briskly the 100 yards to the lich gate. That was not quite far enough. I must go through and into the churchyard. By now the dark was gathering fast, and I could barely see my way, but there were still streaks of light in the sky to the west.